Thailand, land of the free. You know, that's not just some snappy tourism slogan. It's a name with a really deep and powerful story behind it. It's the story of a nation's identity, its incredible survival, and a history that's, well, it's unlike any other in the region. All right, let's dive right in.
So this entire explainer really boils down to this one big question. Picture this. It's the peak of imperialism. You've got Britain and France just carving up the map all around them. And right in the middle is this one kingdom, Siam. So how in the world did it pull off the ultimate escape act and avoid getting colonized?
To get to the bottom of this, we're going to break it down into 5 key parts. We'll start with how the nation was forged. Then we'll check out its golden age of empires, uncover the secrets of its great escape from colonialism, navigate a really turbulent century of change, and finally, land in today's modern political battlefield. Okay, let's kick things off at the very beginning. Act 1, Forging a Nation. The story really kicks off with a massive migration. Way back between the 8th and 10th centuries, peoples known as the Thai started moving south from what's now China. By 1238, they'd established their first major kingdom, Sukhothai. But here's where it gets really interesting. Just a few decades later, in 1283, King Ramkhamhaeng creates the Thai script. This was more than just letters on a page. It was like planting a flag for their own unique culture, a way of saying, hey, we're here and this is who we are. Now, to really get what was going on back then, you got to toss out your modern maps with all their neat fixed borders. Early Southeast Asia ran on something called the Mandala political model. Don't think of it as a country, think of it more like circles of influence. You'd have a powerful kingdom in the center, and smaller states would kind of orbit it, paying tribute. But, and this is key, those loyalties could shift, making politics a super fluid, constantly changing game of power. And this, right here, this gets to the absolute heart of their identity. From the very beginning, these people called themselves Thai, and the name itself literally meant free people, specifically free from being ruled by outsiders. So this idea of freedom isn't some modern thing for them. It's woven right into the fabric of their name. It's a declaration of independence from the get-go.
All right, let's jump into the next chapter and see how this identity gets put to the test. Act 2. The Age of Empires, covering the incredible glory and the tragic ruin of the Ayutthaya kingdom. So starting in the mid-1300s, the Ayutthaya kingdom rose to become an absolute powerhouse. For more than 400 years, it was this glittering center of global trade. European merchants all knew it as the wealthy Kingdom of Siam. And get this, by the year 1700, with about 1 million people, it was probably the biggest, most cosmopolitan city on the entire planet. A true golden age for Thai art, culture, and business. But, and this is a big but, this golden age was anything but peaceful. For centuries, Ayutthaya was locked in this relentless, brutal struggle with its neighbor to the west, Burma. I mean, just look at this number, 26. They fought 26 major wars over that period. It was a defining, exhausting, and ultimately devastating rivalry. And all that conflict, well, it led to this, an absolute catastrophe. In 1767, the Burmese armies finally broke through. They sacked the capital and burned the magnificent city to the ground. Its golden temples literally melted into ruin. It was just a heartbreaking, violent end to more than 4 centuries of glory. But from those ashes, a new dynasty would rise, and it would have to face an even bigger threat coming from a whole new direction. So let's get into Act 3, The Great Escape, and finally answer that big question we started with, how did Siam survive colonialism? Okay, so here's the secret sauce. It wasn't just one magic trick, it was this brilliant 4-part game plan. As Britain swallowed up Burma and France took over Indochina, the Siamese kings played a masterful game. First, they modernized everything, their military, their government, their laws along Western lines to strengthen themselves from the inside. Second, they used incredibly sharp diplomacy to play the British and French off each other. Third, they made some painful decisions to give up territory, which kept the colonial powers happy enough. In the final piece, both Britain and France actually found it useful to keep Siam as a neutral buffer zone between their empires, which was the genius move that sealed its independence.
And that modernization piece was absolutely critical. It started with King Mongkut, or Rama IV, who began embracing Western science and ideas. Then his son, King Chulalongkorn, or Rama V, just hit the accelerator. He created a modern army, a centralized government, and he even took these landmark diplomatic trips to Europe to build personal relationships with its rulers. And this is huge. In 1905, he officially abolished slavery, a massive step in showing the world that Siam was a modern nation. So Siam manages to survive the colonial meat grinder. But the fight for freedom? Well, it was about to turn inward. This kicks off a whole new era of intense change, completely transforming the nation from the inside out. Welcome to Act 4, this century of change.
The 20th century was just a whirlwind. I mean, it was one massive change after another. In 1932, a quiet revolution ends centuries of absolute rule by the king, turning it into a constitutional monarchy. Then in 1939, the country changes its name from Siam to Thailand. During World War II, it makes a really tough choice to ally with Japan. And then after the war, it does a complete 180 and becomes a major U.S. ally in the Cold War.
And that name change is so important. Sim was the name the rest of the world had been using for ages. But in 1939, the government chose Thailand, Prateith Thai. This wasn't just a simple name swap. No way. This was a powerful statement, a declaration of a new, assertive national identity that deliberately reached all the way back to that ancient idea of being a free people.
Now, the back half of the century was really defined by one person, King Bhumibol Adulyadej, who was on the throne for an incredible 70 years. But his reign was anything but stable. This chart, wow, it really tells you about the incredible turmoil that was bubbling just under the surface. During his time on the throne, the country went through 10 military coups and had 17 different constitutions. Just think about that. It shows this constant, unresolved tug-of-war for power between civilian governments and the military.
And that instability, that constant struggle, brings us right into our final act, where all those tensions just boil over into the modern era. Act 5, the modern political battlefield.
So in the 2000s, Thai politics gets really polarized, and it's often boiled down to these two groups known by the color of their shirts. You had the yellow shirts, mostly royalists, the city elites, and the middle class, who were often out protesting against leaders they saw as corrupt. And on the other side, you had the red shirts, mainly from rural and working class areas who supported those same populist leaders and felt their democratic votes were being ignored by the establishment.
And right in the middle of this bitter divide, guess who steps in? The military. Continuing a pattern we've seen again and again. This chart just shows the two most recent examples. In 2006, they kicked out the populist Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra. And then, in 2014, they did it again, this time removing the government led by his sister, Yingluck Shinawatra. So you see the pattern, right? It's this repeating cycle that just seems to be stuck on a loop. You get popular protests on the streets, that leads to instability, and that gives the military an opening to stage a coup. Then they write a new constitution, a fragile civilian government takes power, and we wait for the cycle to begin all over again.
And that leaves us with this incredible paradox, doesn't it? Thailand's history is this amazing story of staying free from outside control. But after a whole century of internal conflict, the big question is still hanging in the air. Can the land of the free finally find a way to secure a stable democratic freedom within its own borders and break this cycle for good? Hey, if you dug this quick dive into Thai history, we've got a whole playlist of quick country histories just like it. Make sure you check that out and definitely subscribe to Notebook Summaries for more explainers that cut right to the chase. Thanks for hanging out with us.